Look right at that camera. I'm gonna hit my applause button one more time. You guys don't mind. I wonder which one you are, Dottie, but it doesn't matter right now. Listen. So I have some special guests with me today. This is a part of the Dank Dad War Daddy series, which is my motivational series. And yeah, I have Mike and Dottie here with me today. And the funny thing is that Mike and Dottie are my wife's, I don't know how to explain it, but it's a complicated situation. So it's my wife's ex-husband's mother and father, Mike and Dottie, which I've become very, very, very good friends with. And they have been on this earth for quite some time, but they have an amazing story. And I kind of wanted to capture it because I thought that this is what magic is made of. These kind of stories, you know what I mean? So what we'll do is we'll start from the top and we'll end at the right place. That's cool with you guys.
That's cool.
All right, salute to us. First and foremost, how'd you guys meet?
Well, we had both gone individually to Venezuela in the Peace Corps
Okay.
in 1964. And we didn't know it, but we worked about 45 minutes from one another. Dottie was in a very small rural village, and I was in a small port town on the coast. We followed the lead of other Peace Corps volunteers, and each of us decided on our own we were going to go to Trinidad, an island off of the coast of Venezuela, and we were going to go there for Carnival. It's much the same as Mardi Gras in New Orleans.
A little less clothing. It's a little less clothing.
A little less, well,
Yeah. They take a lot off. They do that.
that's clothing, but the costumes took your breath away.
Right.
And the other big thing about the Trinidadian Carnival is that the Calypso was born in Trinidad,
Absolutely.
as was steel music.
Absolutely.
So there was all of that to experience. And I went there with my buddy, the guy that I was stationed with in the Peace Corps, and we were just meandering around. We went to what at that time was called the Queen's Park Hotel for something, I don't remember, maybe to hook up with another group of people. And that's what it was, because we were at the elevator. I was at the elevator door, waiting for the elevator to come down and get us. And when that door opened and Dottie was standing inside that elevator, it was like, okay, I'm done. I'm ready to go now. It's all taken care of. Work is over. And they're on, acting together.
Well, no. Don't try to do that. What was your back move? What was your back move in there? How'd you, come on now. What was my back move? Yeah. You saw the elevator open up. How did you get in there? How'd you do it?
Did a lot of stuttering, just like I'm doing now.
Okay.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, she fell in love with me immediately, of course.
Now, come on now.
Yes,
Come on, go ahead.
followed me through the streets.
Actually, it was a little bit different.
You follow him through the streets?
No.
She followed me through the streets. While she danced with me through the streets.
Could he dance?
He tried.
Okay.
He tried to keep up.
I think maybe Mike was it a one bar? Was he trying to keep up with you? So what happened? We danced through the streets.
Well, dancing through the streets was an amazing experience because I had never experienced anything like that before. I mean, from the background that I had, it was just incredible for me to see that many people out in the streets of all races, colors, and creeds, out there having fun together and really enjoying that experience. It was just unbelievable. But I love music. I loved dancing. Though I hadn't done all that much, but I did have rhythm, and I did enjoy learning how to dance and being with the people from the Caribbean. They showed you what it meant to be out in the street. Just they were calling it the jump up at that time, and we all were following bands that were on foot. All the instruments and musicians and everything were walking back in those days with the instruments, and we were all followers and dancing to the music that they were playing.
How many were there all types of people back then? Or like, were it like at that spot, like with white, black,
Yeah.
like all?
Yes.
At that time, Trinidad was the most cosmopolitan population in the world.
Wow.
Indians, African descent people, people from all of the South American countries. Yeah, they took great pride. And the other thing that was amazing is because of the different mixtures and colors and everything, there were striking people you couldn't hardly stop staring at sometimes because of the color and texture of skin.
Beautiful, huh?
Beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful.
The minimum stature in 1964 to be a cop in Trinidad was 6'6".
Jesus.
You had to be 6'6" or taller.
And they were managing the group of people all over the place on horseback, those huge, beautiful horses, and those beautiful men, black men, all of them were just dressed to the
Looking like beautiful statues up there. Look at that.
absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it, man.
It was absolutely striking.
And they walked through with those big horses, they walked through those crowds and kept them organized and kept everybody on course in terms of having fun and nobody get nasty or taking advantage of anybody. It was an amazing experience. It was the kind of love that we look forward to having in the country we came from. And it was like, I could live here. I could really have a life here and enjoy it. Yes, so.
We even seriously talked about living in Trinidad a couple of times in the early years that we were together.
So we party in Trinidad, we meet each other, we party in Trinidad, and now where do we go from here? Do we come back to the States, and how's that work?
Well, we went back to our villages where we were working because we had still another year to go in the Peace Corps. And I was in a rural area, and he was, like he said, about 45 minutes by bus or car from where I lived. But we knew where each other was from then on.
So sidebar. So service was important to both of you guys, huh?
Absolutely, yeah. I came from a family where my mother took care of the whole village. I mean, when they needed something, and we were in the backwoods of North Carolina, but everybody knew
where in North Carolina.
It was called Arapahoe, North Carolina.
Come on, Arapahoe. Come on now. You got to start it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my mother had 8 children, and I was next to the last child. So my sisters were much older than me. There were 7 girls and 1 boy. 6 girls and 2 boys, because I have a brother after me.
Okay.
But my mother was known for taking care of the village. That was what she was known for. Nobody needed food that could call and say, Miss Carrie, I need something. Miss Carrie, I'm sick. Miss Carrie, do you have this or that? Because my mother was always there. And she was one of the strongest women I have ever known in my life. She had all these 8 children, but every single one of us, as soon as we were large enough to do anything, we were out in the fields doing cotton and tobacco and corn and beans and potatoes.
So who was that for?
That was for our family. because at my father, there were no fathers around. The fathers were around long enough to get her pregnant, and then they were gone. And so my mother just she was such a strong woman. And she raised us to know how to take care of business in terms of taking care of the family and sharing what we made. Every penny we made, she'd keep it, take care of our needs. And on Fridays, we'd get a bottle of soda, and all the rest went to my mom to take care of all the family members. And everyone grew up. There was not a single child in our family who was in trouble with the law, in trouble with anybody, being followed to by anybody. My brothers went to the military. They both were in the military. When they came home, they were the same kind of thing they had been in before. They were not respected. They were not cared. Couldn't get jobs. It was, awful for them to come back after being in the military and giving their lives to the country and not being able to have a job to take care of themselves when they got home. So we still see most of that happening even nowadays. But my mom,
What was your mother's
my
name?
mother's name was Carrie Artis, Artis. And she lived to be 83 years old.
Ooh.
And she had two daughters who were preachers and had churches and started churches. She had two daughters who were missionaries who were all over the county doing missionary work. And then she had me, who ended up going into the Peace Corps after I finished college. I went into the Peace Corps because this was what I was born into. This was what my destiny in life is, to help take care of other people, to do things for other people. And being in the Peace Corps, I learned how to appreciate my mom and the situation we were in so much more, because there were people in Venezuela who were less fortunate than I. And it gave me more empathy and more sympathy and more desire to help people. That experience just helped to mold me and make me into who I am today after being with my mother, who started me off that way. And I think I've always been that kind of person in my life. And when I met him, it's like it was just another miracle in my life.
Mm.
And we hung around and got to know each other a bit in Venezuela.
We did a
And
lot of talking about what it was going to be like.
Before you go there,
No,
before you go there, tell me about your upbringing a little bit, Mike. And we're gonna come right back around to what you talked about, because I want to give both perspectives of where you come from, where he comes from, right? And then I want to know about that perspective of what you had to talk about, right? That's a whole nother subject, right?
Yeah.
Coming back home, come from where you come from where you come from, and I love you, you love me, we have a life. There's a lot to talk about. Before that, I want to get to where you come from, Mike.
I was raised mostly in Los Angeles, West Los Angeles.
Yay. Sorry, couldn't help it. No, right, go ahead, West.
I was born in Omaha, Nebraska. My family had some tragedies. My mom died from childbirth when I was a year old. And so I was fortunate to have two older siblings, two siblings that were quite a bit older than I, one being my sister. I had three brothers and one sister, and my sister was about 19 when our mother died, and her name was Lucille, and she just apparently, I was only a year old again, but she just picked up where mom left off and basically raised me. Not basically, she raised me in every kind of way. She was my mom and my dad all the way through my growing years and into my adulthood. She was like Carrie, Dot's mom, an amazingly strong woman. She was a single parent in the 1950s. She wasn't even a parent. She was an older sister. She was a guardian, a legal guardian. And there was more than a few times where she was disadvantaged legally and socially because she was a single woman and raising a young boy. So I grew up in West LA, Venice, and Culver City, and went off to college on a football scholarship. That is a whole other story. The story begins with I had managed to choose the college to go to on a scholarship that after one season dropped football. And so I was out of the scholarship. That was Marquette University in Milwaukee. And then I ran over several speed bumps and rough spots for 2 or 3 years. Managed to stay close to college for some reason. Again, I think my sister's influence. She was bound and determined when I was young. She repeatedly told me that I was going to go to college and I was going to go to college, which was very unusual in our family, very unusual. I don't know where she got the idea that back in those days that college was all that important, but it was her direction that I was following. And I was at a college when I saw a bulletin board display for Peace Corps recruitment. And I applied and got accepted and went off to Peace Corps training. And then went into Peace Island and met Miss Dottie.
So we end up living life, Peace Corps, over to Trinidad. You come back, you're in love. What's the landscape of that at this point? How do you guys make a plan to be together? And what year was this?
1964, 65, 66.
Okay. How was the United States at that time?
Oh, how was the United States at that time? It was on fire. Watts, Detroit.
Literally, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was madness. It was utter madness.
When we first came back, we knew that we cared for each other, but before we left Venezuela, it was like, we are from two different parts of the United States. You're from California and I'm from North Carolina. And we have to decide whether or not this is real, what we're feeling for each other is real. So you go back to your people and I'll go back to mine. And let's see how this works out. If it's meant to be, then we'll reconnect. So we did that. I was living in Virginia at the time.
What part of Virginia?
Norfolk, Virginia.
No, okay, cool. Tidewater.
Yeah, Tidewater.
Tidewater.
Yeah, that's where I went to school at Norfolk State.
Okay, salute to HBCU, goddamn. Let's go.
And at the time, of course, it was an all-black school. So that's where I graduated from. But thinking about getting closer than what we had been, needed some real thought because I knew what it was like where I came from. I didn't know a lot about California, but I knew it was not something that we did back in those days. So he went back to his people and I went back to mine. And we were blessed to get selected to work in California at a training center, training other volunteers, these prospective volunteers, to go to Venezuela to work. And we had just come back.
Why was Venezuela so important at the time for?
No, it wasn't the only one, though. It was just
many. One of many.
It was one of many, yeah. And these were training to go to a Latin American country, and we were returned volunteers. So we got jobs at the same place. That's another story. But anyways, God brought us back together. And that was a good sign that we belong together.
Look at God. Look at God.
Look at God. Look at God.
So
And
we go for it.
no, and I was going to say, it's unlike a lot of people, you see and you love, and then you stay together, you live together for a while, and then you make a decision.
Right.
We did not do that. We decided, no, we love each other. We aren't going to live together until we are supposed to be together as husband and wife, if we are to be together. And we didn't. But when we got married, of course, it was like, okay, this is all about God because He brought us back together. And this is our life. And then I thought, in California, oh, it's going to be great. When we decided to get married and we started looking for a place to live together
In California, in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Yeah.
it's like, oh, the people, they'd have all the ads in the paper and everything. And we would go to a place to rent a place, and they would peep out the window at a little hole and look like, see, they're supposed to go, oh, it's been rented. Oh, well, we'll rent. We can't. It was always an excuse. They would not rent to us. They would not rent to us. And so as soon as they saw us together, that place was no longer for rent. And that went on for a long time. And then a friend of ours said, how do they know Dottie is black? And so we told we're doing this together. We need to know what we're getting together, right? And so he said, he was a lawyer. He said, it's California, but that doesn't go here. Mike, you go and rent a place, and then when you guys go and get married, come back, you move into your place. So that's how we ended up getting married.
That was the proper hustle at the time, huh?
That's the only way.
The protocol for the hustle, huh?
It's like the attorney said, you can continue doing it the way you're doing it and come up with the same results, or you can trust Mike to find a place that would be good for both of you, get yourself all signed up. Mike, you move in. Then you go get married, and then Dottie moves in with you, and there ain't nothing they can do about it after that.
So where did you move into? What city? In
all places, man. You know Hayward, California?
Yeah.
Dottie and I integrated that town. She was the first person of color in that. It was a little white town. Hayward.
Okay.
Yeah, you go through Hayward now, you don't see many of me, you see a lot of you.
Yeah.
The color in between, right? Yeah, it's crazy.
So I was living in Hayward.
It was awful. I did a little sly thing that I like to brag about. Never having met Dot's family, I got in touch with them by long distance telephone. And
it's a lot of bucks.
Yeah, man, expensive calls, yeah. And talked to my brother-in-law, Woody, and he was married to one of Dot's twin sisters. And I said, okay, so Dottie and I have set a wedding date. If I send you a few $100 to pay for expenses, can you get out here and surprise Dottie for the wedding and be here at the wedding? And Woody got in his hog, his Cadillac.
Come on now. Come on, salute to the goddamn hogs. I'm trying not to curse. I'm trying my best, but listen, when you start talking that hog shit, yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
That's what Woody had.
He drove me from where though? Where did he drive from? No way.
Yes, he did.
He and his wife and
that Cadillac
sister and their daughter, their adopted daughter, Ruthie. They all came out to Oakland, California for the wedding.
Talk about love, man.
It scared the dickens out of her when she saw. When they got here, I had to move into the apartment and stay there, and kind of hid them out until such time it was time to let her know that they were there. And she almost had a heart attack. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Was it amazing? It had to be.
It was so amazing. And talking about the kind of love that I felt,
God,
one of the things that attracted me to him in the first place, I have to tell this. when we started dating, we would go places in Venezuela, and they would call us black beans and rice. That was okay. They were Venezuelans, but that was okay.
Why black beans and rice? Okay, man.
Uh,
What the hell was black beans and rice?
That's the staple diet in Venezuela.
Somebody got to get it. Somebody got to get his ass whooping. Black beans and rice. Wait a minute.
But the thing that really, really drew me to him is we would be in a group of people, and the men would be standing over talking or whatever, and they would curse. They would curse. They would use foul language. And he knew I didn't curse. That was not me, and I didn't like it. I would call them on it immediately. Man, don't you see my woman here? Don't you see my lady here? Don't say that. And that kind of respect for me as a black woman had never happened before. My mother didn't allow any cursing in the house, of course. The black people didn't really do that around their parents anyway. So I was not used to anybody cursing in front of me. And when he met me, he called people when they would curse in front of me. He lost that, I guess, along the way. you know him by now. But he didn't have that language when he met me that he would
All I had to do was just.
he had it. He wouldn't. He said it was on reserve, and that was a good thing.
And I truly believe that because as men, we know exactly what we got to do. When you love somebody, you know exactly what you got to do to nail it down.
Yeah.
You understand?
He did, and that's what he did, and that's how he really got to my heart. Because I had boyfriend, but I never had a man who would defend my honor as a woman by calling men out when they spoke negatively in front of me, and that was amazing.
So we're in Hayward. What comes next? Children, life,
Well, so
Black Panthers. I said, listen, I don't want to jump the gun because
that comes a couple of years, that comes a few months.
hey, listen, I am so excited, and I keep checking my camera because it's just me. Usually, I have a whole team. Okay, my brother Jeffrey, who's my co-host in the Dank Sportscast, which you guys see here. Brad Stacker, agent number 9. He helps with a lot of my tech stuff. Jason is a guy that I've known since early Catholic school. With my brother, my center on football field, nationally ranked high school football team at Archbishop Carroll, all black high school. Salute, right? And this is something that I wanted to do, and I didn't want it to be anything that was orchestrated.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted it to just happen just like this. And because I know the story, and sometimes when you know something, it's hard for other people to really grasp the value that you put in something, right? So I had to just go at this straightforward, and I have my own vision for this personally.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I keep, if you see me checking the camera, it's because I want to make sure that I'm getting all of this because this is a rare, rare, rare life. This is a rare life.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Hayward, not so nice. Things happen. Where do we go from there?
Well, we should probably tell you about. So after the wedding, right? He and I get in the car and we take off for like a week or so for our honeymoon.
Okay.
We come back home. Dottie is seeing the place for the first time, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't have the car unloaded. The baggage is still in the trunk of the car. We're carrying it into the apartment, and the manager shows up and explains that we cannot live there. And when I asked him why, he said, "You didn't tell us you were going to be marrying a negress."
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that was the word.
To which I said, "Excuse me, what's a negress? I had never heard myself called a negress before." So,
This guy was out there. It's kind of a long story because there were a couple of pretty frank conversations. me at one point telling him when he said we had to move out for the umpteenth time, me telling him that we would move out as soon as the man who sits behind the big desk and wears the black robe tells us to move out.
Facts.
And oh, by the way, I know that this apartment complex has a contract with the federal government to rent to military. The federal government does not want to hear that you're discriminating against people in your rental policy. So
Let me say this. It's so weird to hear this because, like, we know Cali. It's so different now. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody walk outside. Don't you? A white person walk outside. Don't you do that to those people? Nah, nah. And now it's like back then it was like we're going to hold on to our beliefs. A negress.
Yeah, a negress.
A negress, yeah.
They called me a lot of things, but a negress was new. I guess it was dressing it up, perhaps. You know the word? Dressing
I
it
guess
up.
it's better than nigger.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay,
To tell you how far out this guy was, he was a little bit crippled.
He had lost one leg.
Huh?
He had lost a leg.
He lost a leg in the knob. A black man had carried him to safety. And his words were the following. Yes, a black man carried me to safety, but do you think I'd invite him across my doorstep to be in my living room in my home? No way. That's how it was amongst a lot of white people.
let me ask you this, because I have you here. So what is it? What's the
Hate.
and I listen, this is what's the fucking fear? What is the fear? At that point, no, I'm just saying, at that point when you're coming from, like, what's the fear of, like, having a wife that's black, you working, you guys are all working, you guys are all living, you're in the same community. Like, what's the damn fear?
That's a good question because I can say for a fact that it's not all of them who are like that, whom we encountered even then.
Listen, and I understand that. What I'm asking is, Mike, what do you think is their fear? And I'm talking about that guy, that time, those people that felt that way, just not him, plenty back then.
Yeah.
What was the fear?
Yeah. I can't explain it. I mean, I've never been around it in my upbringing. It never touched my life. There was nobody in my family to transfer that fear to me. On the contrary, my sister was very progressive for her days. Very progressive.
As far as
The questions of color or any kind of human difference. Some of her best friends was a gay couple in the 1950s.
that's wild.
Yeah, it was
Way different.
Mm-hmm.
And she would talk about them, and she'd make me part of the gathering sometimes with them. She would talk about the one black salesman in the place that she worked and how he was not treated correctly, not given the kinds of accounts that the other salesmen got in the white neighborhoods and stores. She would talk about she was in a wholesale liquor business. There were quite a few Jewish businesses, small little mom and pop stores that they dealt with. So there was a lot of prejudice against Jews. And I remember Lucy coming home from work and she would be livid with some comment that she had heard at work about Jewish people. And that rubbed off on me. I just kind of absorbed it by osmosis. So I don't understand the fear and the hate. I can't claim that I grew up with a lot of people of color. That wouldn't be true. Most everybody in my environment was white, but the influences that I had were not the kind of influences that led me to fear and hate people who are different from me. On the contrary.
So, racist landlord, we move on and we live. And where do we go? Where do we go? He knows that you, the man in the robe, makes the decisions, government, military. Where do we go from there?
Well, we stayed around Hayward for a while. I was on Dottie's first scholarship. She worked and I went to school full time to finish up my undergraduate work.
So you shut him down.
I felt whatever he did to make our lives better, and he had more opportunity than I did in terms of getting into schools easier and everything. But I had finished my degree, my first, my BA. I had it, and I was working, and we needed to get him upgraded a little bit so that we could move on and ahead because they weren't going to let me go much farther than I was at the time. But I had a good job, so-called a good job. I'm so grateful for what I had at the time. So we got him through school. We moved from that place. After about 6 months, we moved to another place closer to the university.
What university?
Still in Hayward. It was Hayward. It was called
Cal State
Hayward.
Okay.
Oh, Hayward State.
Shout out.
Yeah, Cal State Hayward. And so he went there, and we stayed there for a while. He didn't finish there. He played football again.
Where'd you play, Mike?
What position did I play?
No position.
Tight end.
Tight end.
At that time, I was tight end. Yeah.
Okay.
And so we moved from there, and then we decided to got a job at what was that government program like? It was
Well, we had the Job Corps, and there was the Skill Center.
no, there was one in between that we went to and worked out in Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was manpower development stuff. Manpower development program.
Okay.
And we did that for a couple of years until they cut the program. And then we decided to go back to the Caribbean. So we went back to Barbados and got jobs there. That's another story. So long, but we got jobs there and we stayed there for about.
What'd you do there, real quick? What'd you do?
Teaching. We got
Teaching. Okay, cool. Don't leave that out. Because listen, I want people to know, like, there are a lot of people, especially today, right? To make I wouldn't say a living, because you don't really make a living, right? But you get a chance to understand the world through service.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Well said.
Yeah.
Like you really, truly, when you say, hey, I did a mission in Haiti one time. And even having money, I wasn't able to use my money to go be as free as I wanted to be on that mission trip. I was in the damn trenches. And so, even though I had a bag, I had played bars, I probably had, I may have had 230,000 in the bank, and I was like, damn, I'm in Haiti and I'm working. And what I would like to do is go to this hotel and get a shower and lay up a little. And it was like, no, it's service.
Yeah.
And the little lady who was in charge of things, she made sure that I didn't get very comfortable at all, okay? Her name was Wanda. Wanda?
From Wakanda?
No, Wanda was from Port-au-Prince.
Oh. And Wanda didn't play.
And Wanda took a very big liking to me, but not liking. Just I'm going to keep my foot in your ass because I know that you are a misfit that will drift off and do the worst things you can do. Yes. And she knew it. And at the end of this thing, I was really thankful that I found that gear. inside of myself to understand outside of me that there was so much more to when God gives you things. There's wild situations.
Mhm.
There's poverty. There's
Injustice.
injustice, but too like there's like at that time there's a lot of devil worship, satanic shit
Oh,
going
yeah,
on,
yeah,
right?
yes, that's right.
And listen,
Those countries especially.
and listen, whatever your thing is, your thing. We don't judge nobody over here. What I do, right? But it would bring people to detriment.
Mhm.
And it was like, damn, y'all do that? Like it was because you're seeing it. It's just not your everyday walk of life. Mr. Belvedere, Different Strokes, Cosby Show, right? When you go do service, you see some wild shit. And so, I just wanted to hone in on that because, you guys are giving us, you kind of giving us the light version of it, but there's a lot to it. So let's move on. So you're over there, you're serving, you're teaching, and how do we go from there?
I think it's important to say that, to sort of readdress the question you asked earlier about, so how was Hayward? There was a point when I finished up my undergraduate work and we were living in Hayward and things were running hot and heavy in the Bay Area. Not so much in Hayward. The biggest issue in Hayward was the challenge, and it was a real profound challenge that Black kids from Oakland and Berkeley took on to come all the way down to Hayward State to go to school because it was such an overwhelming
How far was that?
10, 15 miles.
Hey,
But it was across the world in terms of social, racial difference. And
but 10, 15 miles is a long time in time
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
children.
yeah, they were young kids, and I was a little bit older because I had been in the Peace Corps and a couple other things, and Dottie and I were married, so we were young adults. These kids were kids, and I really attached myself to them, or tried to attach myself to them, and make Hayward State a softer landing for them. I don't know how well I did with that, but out of that awareness and out of that social milieu of the Bay Area in 1967, 1968, when things were running really hot, I decided, well, Dottie and I decided, at my suggestion, to get the hell out of Hayward, and we moved up to North Oakland. My feeling was I can get along better in North Oakland and be more comfortable than what's going on in the undercurrents of Hayward.
Man, listen, as a Black man, I would have took my ass to North Oakland as a Black man. Okay. How in the world do you think it's easy to navigate? North Oakland? God.
Well, I've been around. I've been in the Peace Corps. I had been around. Dottie and I did lots of deep talking.
Like shit was real.
Hmm?
Shit was real.
Yeah.
In those streets back then.
Yeah.
In North Oakland, bro.
You know in North Oakland, who my best protector was? The Panthers. You know who would come after me? The Muslims.
Alhamdulillah.
They'd come after me in the hallways of school, and as soon as they start coming at me, there'd be a Panther or two interrupt, back off, leave them alone. You had no business here.
But the brothers interact back then, though? Between the brothers, between the Panthers and the Muslims?
No.
It's two different thought processes. So
No, that's why I think that's why it wasn't so much me protecting me, it was just being anti-Muslim that the Panthers would intervene like that. No, they did not get along at all. It was actually, from my point of view, it was kind of sad that alliance could not be formed.
two different thought processes, huh? We're gonna go with this. I often think about W.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington, how they took two different avenues as far as agriculture and education, correct?
Right.
And Malcolm and Martin,
Yep.
true, right? So how did that resonate within what was it? What was the major thing that divided those guys?
Well, I think a lot of it had to do with the Panthers feeling like as though they wanted to protect the community from police violence, and the Muslims were more into, how would I say it, law and order, if you will. They were very regimented in the way they conducted themselves, in their
Holding it to a standard too.
and they had a big standard. They did, and I respected them for that. I had lots of, how would I say, interpersonal grievances with the Muslims. There were 2 or 3 incidents.
And I want to cut you off, but I think that that's like when you're grounded in a foundation of Panthers are a little different. They were developed. It's just a philosophy of a Quran, and where they come from is a little bit more grounded, so they feel like their feet are a little bit more firmly planted in the ground than
The Panthers or the Muslims?
the Muslims. For sure.
Very much so.
Uh-huh.
Very regimented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I only brought that up because you said regimented. And that comes from the Quran and even their prayer habits.
Oh, yeah.
It's very regimented, laying out the rug and really, yeah. It's definitely regimented. Go ahead.
No, it was some interesting times, and I feel very fortunate to have been able to live so close to it, and even be a part of it to a certain degree. We had Panther meetings in our backyard. One of the founding people of the Panthers lived across the street.
Across the street from us. His house was there.
Not good buddies, but we were good neighbors.
Where did you live at?
63rd Street,
In Oakland.
North Oakland.
We're having the border of Oakland and Berkeley.
Okay.
Because the police would come on one side, they didn't know whose problem they had, who was going to take care of the problem, because it was just,
Right.
the vicinity was so close. Yeah.
So we run through these issues between the Panthers, Muslims, Panthers in life, Panthers in CIA, Panthers in FBI. How do we continue?
Well, I mean, I was just reading something. Oh, it was the autobiography of Angela Davis. And most of that autobiography is about the Panthers, the Soledad brothers, all of that was going on. And of course, her own experience with being accused so stupidly of conspiracy. And
explain that. Explain, like, let people know. Like, what conspiracy? Because I don't.
so flimsy.
But they don't know. A lot of people do not know that. And I want to be able to deliver a full, really lay it out for people what that was like. 'Cause there was a lot of shots taken to slow things down, subtle things, right? And so, talking about Angela Davis now. So I want to articulate exactly what that was.
Well, I don't know if I could articulate it very well, but I can say
What was she accused of doing?
murder. She accused of murder when Jackson, when they shot up the courthouse in Marin County. She was accused of being part of the army for that incident, and therefore, by association, part of the murder. would have to admit that for many years, I didn't understand in the United States, as radical as my politics were, I did not understand the accusation of what a political prisoner was until I read Davis's autobiography a couple months ago. And I realized in the United States, a political prisoner, Angela Davis is the classic example of a political prisoner. They wanted to get her. They wanted to stop her influence in colleges and universities and in the general public. Her influence was gaining more and more momentum as time went on. They wanted to get her. That incident at the Marin County Courthouse was all they needed in order to put her in jail and put her through almost 3 years of court proceedings. And while she was in jail, she was a political, I believe that she was a political prisoner. She was not there for any kind of murder or mayhem. She was there to get her out of the public view and into prison.
Well, listen, if I had not asked for that, I would have got that. Like, I don't think people really understand, like, I think now things are a little different, right? We're like, we found this line, as far especially Black people, and being famous. You found this line to march where you stay on a certain path. You can say things, but as long as you stay on that path, you won't get too much footing. We had people back then that were willing to risk it all.
One of them just died last week.
Cool.
And
And listen, I don't think Harry Belafonte. I don't think he got quite the backlash. He was the leader. I think Harry Belafonte was too big to beat him down. You know what I mean? Like, he was huge. He was an icon. His name was Harry Belafonte. Okay. One of the coldest goddamn names of all time is Harry Belafonte, right?
Yeah.
I think there were a lot of people that gave a lot of sacrifices. And, you know, when it comes to the Panthers and when it comes to the Muslims, we don't have them around. They're not an entity as they used to be in our communities, right? When I was growing up, when I moved to D.C., when the Muslims came through, every dope boy on the planet got out the way.
what?
Every dope boy.
Got out of the way?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And so the weight of young brothers having somebody to look up to was different back then. What you saw was so different. And one of my biggest things with bringing this together was that I wanted people to know what really was in the balance back during that time. You know, kids kill each other for freaking TikToks.
Yeah.
Now. Oh, he said this about me in the TikTok, pull up. And you're like, what? Do you know that Black Panthers feeding children morning, day, and night? The movement was real of how we cared about each other. And even just listen to this level of service that I'm understanding that you guys both committed to.
Still are committed to.
Absolutely. Salute to that. So, I just really want people to understand the weight of what this truly is. It's a podcast. Is to hear the value in what the gems that are being dropped here of how much we used to care about each other.
Yes.
You know, there's I talked to my brother, Agent Greg Stacker. He's one of my podcast members on the Dank Sports Guys, and we talked about DC and where they are as a culture and things that go on in that city. And we talked about the protocol of the streets back then when we were growing up a little bit, right? And he was saying, no, that just didn't, that thing didn't exist. You didn't touch a mother.
Oh,
You didn't touch a grandma. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. And now we slid such down a goofy slope.
Yeah.
I tried to argue that point, but in my heart of hearts, I just can't. I know that it, it's just not real to try to argue it because it's just too real to argue against it. I don't want to believe it. My idealism is I don't want to believe that we have come to that big a difference between today.
Well, that's you are a little poker, huh? You are. All right, so let's go down that road real quick then. And I don't know where we find ourselves down this road, right? Because where do we lose ourselves? That's the real conversation. Because listen, if I seen a homie's mama down the street carrying bags, hey, let's go. We all getting up, helping her all the way through.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to. I don't want to replace. I don't want to get into this place where I talk about this more than I talk about.
Service.
Nah, it's not just service. I want to make this service a celebration of you guys, and just to talk about. I want people to really. My mission here is for people to understand what love is, and so we're in a middle place right now where I'm bouncing off a lot of shit, but my main thing here is at the end of this podcast is to show people what love is truly about, right? And so I'll touch on that later. I got a plan, a development. I'm trying to go somewhere. I'm trying to be great with this, but in the midst of it, no, we don't have nothing like that. It's gone. And let me tell you guys, it's gone. These kids are doing whatever. It's gone. But what I want people to understand is why were those things so important? Why was service so important? Why was the community so important? Why was um, the battle that you faced with feeding children, African American children? Why was that so important? Why was this movement so important? What was the difference between the Bay, I mean, from North Carolina to the Bay? This is what I want to really articulate in my podcast here, right? Because I want people to get a timeline of where we came from to where we are today. Because so much has been lost with the natural love, right? Here's the thing. I, you know, when you hear Marvin Gaye's, and he's saying, yeah, and you hear everybody talking, and
Oh yeah,
what's
yeah.
going on, brother? What's going on? And they all, right?
Yeah.
Mother, there's too many of us dying. And it was brothers talking about how can we get better? Brother, how can we? And you guys grew up in that era of real black love and people trying to bring it together. And what's breaking my heart is that we're losing it so fast. And I wanted to capture this point in time where what did that feel like? What was it like to just like to be like, man, we down for the love and for the cause? What was that like feeling of it?
was, it, for me, it was beautiful. It was when I mentioned, when I made the comment earlier, I am proud and fortunate to have been a participant more than an observer, but I was actually, as a white guy, I was in it, so to speak. As close as a white guy, as deep as a white guy can get into it. And and I'm proud and feel very fortunate as a result of that. At the along with that, I have to say the changes that have come about over the years make me very sad. I think I know some of the reasons for it, and they make me furious. Um, I think a lot of the reasons was the cultural shift that was the cultural and the political shift that came after the 60s and early 70s, when the reaction against love of any kind, whether it was intertribal love amongst Black people or
We were talking about gays. We were talking about just this with the gays and how she fought for gay people. And I think it's crazy that we think that everybody's supposed to be just in one place, right? I had a cousin. He got married to a gay man. They were gay. But one day before he got married, he was driving down the street and I saw a girl. I was like, "Hey, pull over, pull over, pull over." And he was like, "Pull over, right?" And I got in the car and he said, "See how you felt? That's how I feel." So I want to be great. I want to be. I want to praise God. I want to. Can't help how I feel. And that was a big deal for me. The understanding of that part was a big deal for me, right? And so even going back to then, you said you had a sister that wanted, you come from this place where you wanted people to understand that we're different, right? And so you move on through life, and you guys are fighting to let people know that people are different. Sir, we get a place in your place in Haywood. Niggers. Is that Dottie, forgive me. They're fucking nuts.
I think my heart has always been saying, and we have lost the respect that we used to have and that we used to could garner for one another. We've lost that, and we're so quick to judge everybody who doesn't look like us, or doesn't talk like us, or doesn't live like us, or whatever. We immediately think, okay, they live in that part of town. They are all weird. They're all faggots. They're all homosexuals. They're all this and that. So we're going to move across here and we're going to not let them into our area because they're different. But every single one of us need the same basic things. We need food, clothing, and shelter. We need respect, and we need to be treated with dignity and respect no matter who we are. And we have lost that. We lived in the backwoods of North Carolina, in Arapahoe, North Carolina.
Now let me ask you this. Let me stop you.
Okay.
All right. Mm-hmm. You lived in the backwoods in Arapahoe, North Carolina.
Right.
Right. And the fact that you've been able to find this place.
Yeah.
People from Arapahoe, North Carolina, they didn't find that place.
A lot of them did find that place because they were able to help one another. My family.
But I mean, when it comes to gay, white, Black, in Arapahoe, was that accepted?
I don't know if anybody even knew what that was back in those days. Because nobody talked about gays and stuff back in those days. We went to the fields, we got on the back of a truck, we went to the fields, we worked until sundown, and we dropped off at our house and we go in and we would do what we had to do in order to try to get some food together, whatever. And most of the time, if it was tobacco time, we would stay up until midnight or 1 o'clock doing tobacco in our house so that they could pick it up the next morning, take it on a truck and take it to the place where they processed it. And so we had a different kind of lifestyle. And we worked with the white man, and we would picked up, taken to his field, he'd drop us back off, he'd pay us on Saturdays, give the mama money to mama, and she would make sure we had what we needed. But you know, they didn't when we were working, they didn't treat us like we were slaves at that time. They had gone through that phase, and we were a little bit beyond that phase. But
As long as you stayed in line.
and we were yeah, we didn't well. I didn't ever remember anybody being beaten or cruelly treated doing when I was growing up, and I knew about the time when it was a time when like my grandfather, etc. But we did what we had to do and respected each other. My mother, people would help each other. You exchanged things, you traded things, you did, if you could do this, you do this, I'll do that for you. And big hog killings, we'd get together and everybody bring that pig over and everybody would get together. The men and women would get together and we would have a hog killing, as they called it. And we would work and work and work to get all of that done so that everybody would have meat and everybody would have food and stuff during the winter time. Putting the sweet potatoes on the ground and burying them in pine needles and stuff to keep them from spoiling so we would have vegetables, and so we helped, people helped each other and people respected each other. And there was nobody who was so much richer than everybody else that they could afford to be nasty and evil toward one another. You knew who the people were who had things, but they didn't treat you like you were dirty or anything. It was like, okay, I got the store. You have a credit card here, or you have a credit here. Get what you need now, and when you get paid off at the end of this work season, then you pay me for what you owe for your food. So that was a time when people took care of one another and treated each other with dignity and respect. And there were white people in the area too. I took care of, how babysat for some of them, stuff like that. And then you had those white people in the area who wanted you to take care of their house and stuff. And if you were a teenager or even close to a teenager, the old men would want to, take advantage of you. But it wasn't the way they weren't killing each other like they're doing now. Just going, oh, I don't like you, and just pulling out a rifle or something.
Or even to glorify what a pimp was, which is big in the Bay. I think it's crazy for Black people to ever glorify the pimp. But even nowadays, these kids rap about killing each other. It's just wild to me. But let's go forward. So you guys have lived this life. You're in the Bay. And where do we go far with kids in life and expanding and growing?
I didn't hear what you that last part.
I said, where does it go with kids and life expanding and growing? Where do we go from you guys lived in the Bay, dealt your dilemmas and served, and where do we go?
Well, like we said, while we were in the Bay Area, it was always some kind of service job that we had. They changed from time to time because the funding could get kind of crazy. And then we went to Barbados, as Ma reported earlier, and spent some time there. After Barbados, we came home, back to the States, and wound up with a job in an experimental college and went and lived in Cuernavaca, Mexico for a couple of years, for almost a year and a half, and ran this, again, college program. It was an experimental school. It was a very interesting experience. We loved living in Mexico, absolutely loved it. But the kids in the program came from very wealthy families.
Were these Mexican kids?
No, they were primarily American. There were a few kids from other countries.
Well, you were in Mexico.
We lived in Mexico.
Yeah.
Okay.
The school was set up with 5 campuses around the world. New York, Mexico, India, Japan, and the UK. And the kids would move from one of those campuses to another during their 4 years of undergraduate work. And our job was to run the Latin American Center. We covered the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and Mexico. It was in many ways a great job. It was on paper, it was like the dream job. However, things were still happening in the States. We're talking the early 70s here. The United States was still going through some huge changes and challenges with the question of racial justice. And Dottie and I just started having conversations in Mexico about, like, what are we doing here? Is this where we should be doing our service? Is this the best we could do to provide service to people? Take these wealthy kids getting through this experimental school. And we decided that no, we were in the wrong place. We resigned, returned to the Bay Area.
With the daughter.
With a daughter at that time.
Okay, what's her name?
Her name is Carrie.
Carrie what?
Lucille.
Carrie Lucille Crow.
Carrie Lucille. Come on, Carrie Lucille. I know you. I know you, Carrie Lucille. Doctor. Huh?
Dr. Carrie Lucille.
Dr. Carrie Lucille. I do want to call you Lucy now, but let's get to it.
She wouldn't mind that.
That was his sister's name, the one who raised him.
I love it.
And Carrie, it was my mother's name. So,
My grandmother's name was Carrie Kelly.
really? Right.
She's the most Christian woman I ever known.
Yeah, no, that's right.
And you know what? My grandmother would watch any kind of religious show, Benny Hinn. It didn't make a difference what was on. She loved the Lord. She lived a long time too. And salute to Carrie Lucille. So Mexico, how do we move on?
Came home from Mexico, worked a little bit more in the Bay Area, and stumbled onto we started getting interested in taking in other kids, either through adoption or foster care. We were stumbling around. We weren't sure just what to do or how to do it. We were visiting good friends up in Ukiah, in Northern California.
Okay. Salute you, guys.
And while we were visiting, we went and we were in a restaurant with our friends and talking about maybe getting a group home started and what they did. Huh?
We were looking for a job so that we could move up there with near our friends.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. And a woman sitting at a nearby table came over and said, introduced herself and said, so you're looking for a job? And Dottie and I said, yeah. And she said, how would you feel about taking care of kids? Some kids. And we said, well, heck yeah, that's what we want to do. And so she represented, at the time, it was called Trinity School for Children in Ukiah, and it was a residential school, and they took in kids from all over California, even outside California, and they had them in a residential environment on campus with a school also on campus. These kids were labeled as severely emotionally disturbed children. So they were trying to set up a group home for those kids who had been at Trinity School for a while and were doing well in school and socially, well, better. They wanted to put them in a group home environment and get them out of the residence thing on campus. and they needed to hire group home parents. So they hired Dottie and I pretty much on the spot. And we spent a year uh, operating a group home for Trinity School.
About a year and a half.
About a year and a half, yeah. And it was burnout. It got, we had no home of our own. When we got time off, we'd have to go stay at a motel, stay at a friend's house, something like that for anywhere from 2 to 5 days. And so we had no.
There's no luxury here.
That's what?
There's no luxury. There's no damn
No.
cool shit at all. It is constant service. And yeah, we're not even worried about the return.
So we had six, they gave us 6 children, and we had one of our own. Carrie was born there. And she was 3. And we had 6 children from the institution, all boys at the time. And they were from 9 years old to 14 years old. Because nobody wanted the older children. And so they were having to find places for the older children.
So we move on.
And so we kept those children, and well, like Mike was saying, for a year and a half, it was just totally burnt out. We had no privacy. We had no nothing. They were always first in our, line of duty.
And Carrie
was 3.
So where do we go from here?
Well, the house that they had rented for us to use was ample for, 2 boys per room, and Carrie had her room, and we had our room. So it was, and it had a big playroom and all the things that would make for a nice home with parents in it. And it was okay. I mean, we just didn't have any privacy and a place to go when we had a day or 2 off. But we did that for a year and a half. And then Mike was going to go back and get his teaching credential. Finish, he had finished the subject matter, but he needed a teaching credential so he could maybe get a job in the Ukiah as a teacher. So he could do that, and I could be the one with the house with the children. So, anyways, yeah, we did that, and then we came back to you after we went to Oakland, and he did that, and we came back, and we were there for maybe 2 or 3 days, and those boys that we had came knocking on the door and say, "Would you take us back as your children?" And so we took them back as our children.
Would you know everything?
Oh, yeah, they're still our children. They were 60 years old now. Keith and Tyrone.
I was trying to set up a cool joke.
Okay, I'm sorry.
He murdered it for me. He was like, yeah, goddamn right I do. Those are my children. I was trying to do something cool, Dottie. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't be subtle at all. Forget about it, Dottie. Damn, you just bang. Tell me about keeping fire. I know you were. Double applause. I'm proud of my goddamn kid. Say, sit up. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was setting that up and you gave me no chance. Yeah, I want to set that up. Tell you about keeping Tyrone. What's up?
Okay.
My turn. Yeah, so they got placed as foster children. Left Trinity School. Finished high school, and of the 5 boys, one of them has since passed, and the other 4 are still very much a part of our lives. And one of them is doing moderately well. He's safe and content. And the other 3 were very proud of them. I am an absolute wonder that they have turned out to be the fathers and mates that they turned out to be.
You got grandkids too, huh?
And we got grandkids from them.
Shot some grandkids out there.
And we proud of our grandkids. We have one who finished at ASU.
Tell me.
And for the last 3 years, she's been working,
Give me those names of the grandkids.
Her name is Elaine Carroll.
Okay.
And right now she's in Europe on her 2-week break with some friends and touring Europe and having a good time, seeing the world. And she's
Elaine get drunk, okay?
Right.
Elaine get drunk, okay? I'm going to be honest for her grandparents. Sorry. Elaine's getting faded out there in Europe right now. I know what's going on.
Well, she's having a good time. She
Praise Elaine. Go for it, Elaine. Have fun. Learn and live from these people.
She earned her own money to go.
All
She
right.
didn't ask for a dime from anybody. So
Okay.
I'm so proud of her. And we have another one who became the first UPS black driver for Santa Rosa. And she has worked in the back rooms until she earned her way all the way up to the top.
Come on, UPS Black History Month. Come on. Anybody else got that? Let's go.
Yeah. The one who had most psychological problems, he is in Oceanside. He's doing okay.
This is not a great.
No, this is not a grandchild. This is one of the boys.
Please go. You know, go wherever you want to go on my show.
Exactly.
I invite you on my show. You can go wherever you want to go.
Wherever my heart is right
Okay. That's all right. I'm shut up. Go ahead, girlfriend. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just proud of our children.
Yeah, be proud of the kids. Let's go. It's beautiful, right? It's cool.
It's cool.
Absolutely.
Tell me about it.
Well, he was living with us for a long, long time because he couldn't stay on track and by himself, and so he'd get lost, and we would go pick him up and bring him back and give him a place to stay and take care of him for a while. And then we moved from Oceanside to Reno. Oh, he didn't want to come to Reno because there's a lot of snow in Reno, and it's cold in Reno.
Yeah, right. First of all, I don't want to curse, but fuck that snow. Oh, but go ahead. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't say that. Go ahead.
So he decided to stay in Oceanside and try to make it on his own. So far, he's doing better than he was for a good while. A couple of years, he was having a hard time. And then they found him in the system again. He got lost in the system and wasn't getting any help from social services of any kind. And they found him fine in the system, so he's getting a stipend now that will allow him to rent a room and stay in a safe place and feed himself. And he's doing okay right now. He's doing okay, thank God. And he's healthy and strong. And just, he has his problems, but God is good. He's taking care of him.
Praise God.
Yes.
I love that. Now, where else we at? Who else you got? You got an abundance. You got a crew.
Well, unfortunately, we lost one because he was the oldest one when we got him. And he, unfortunately, had a family history that he could never get out of.
Okay.
And his mother was
What's his name?
Michael Williams.
They said we want to
So
show Michael Williams from us.
yeah, so he got in with the wrong gang, and he did drugs and stuff. He ate up his liver. And he was in prison, and he was in and out of jail, whatever. But he always knew where we were, and when he got into those situations, it was always call mom and pop, call us. And he was in prison.
And this shit ain't always perfect.
No, oh no,
It ain't perfect.
no, never will be, because we're not perfect beings,
Amen.
Yeah. But one thing that just is so near and dear to my heart, when he was in hospital and knew it had been told by the doctors that he had a couple of days to live, and his father and siblings, several of them were at the hospital with them. And Mike and I had just come back from a funeral in on the East Coast, and so we were on the plane when we got word that where he was and what was going on. And so Mike said to me, "You go home and get some rest. And if he is in bad shape, I'll call you and you can come." So I stayed on the plane and went on to Oceanside, and Mike went to Oakland to check on Michael. And he called me, said, "You need to come." And so I went, and but Mike said also when he called me, he said, "This should help your heart, so I know how you're doing. This should help your heart." Michael had everybody leave the room but me. And he said, after everybody left his bedside, he said, "Pa, turn me over on my knees. Turn me on my knees." Because he knew he had to repent. He knew he needed to repent before he died. And so he repented And that helped my heart because we were so concerned about, I was so concerned about what would happen to him had he not known the Lord or he had not accepted the Lord. And when he told me that, it alleviated some real heavy stuff in my heart. But I did get there in time to hold him in my lap, hold him in my arms, and stay with him for hours before he passed. Now,
I wasn't ready for that part.
yeah, like you said, it's not a perfect world.
Ooh.
That was heavy. That was
Just
hard
next to me on Saturday night at 7:45 in the afternoon, huh? All right, so where do we go from there? Yeah, keep me right in check. Boom. Where do we go from there? Got Michael, who's passed away. No Lucille, living life. Moved to Reno. How do we feel? Where do you guys find yourselves now?
Where do we find ourselves now? Old,
Old,
alive, and healthy, and
alive and healthy, yeah.
being blessed by having a daughter
Fortunately.
who was blessed to become a doctor, who takes care of us, who nurtures us, who tries to make sure that we are safe and have what we need.
Shout out to Lucy, man. And you know, I'll give you hell later, Lucy. I'll give you hell later, Lucy. Trust me.
So we are just blessed now to still be as well as we are. We've had ups and downs with, illnesses and cancer and broken bones and replaced knees and
Damn his knees. His knees. Don't worry. Don't worry.
My knees are fine.
We still here. Who got replaced? Did you get replaced?
I got two of them.
Damn.
Yeah,
And you still open?
I still am
I
hoping.
pray to God I'm in that position. And you still doing Skyrock?
And I turned 85 years old in March.
Praise God.
Thank you, Jesus.
Listen. Hey, Dottie, tell them about them Senior Olympics you kicking ass in. Tell them. I ain't cursing my throat. Tell them about the Senior Olympics you kicking ass in.
Yeah, I've been going to the Senior Olympics for several years now, playing basketball. I played softball. I ran track. So I did those things at Senior Olympics, and I have a drawer full of medals that I was able to acquire while I was having a lot of fun and staying healthy. And just all God. That's all the God that I serve that allows me to be able to do those things. And I have my partners to back up to help me to get there, and my friends who have sponsored me so that I could get there. And I just have been truly, truly blessed with my life. As I came from nothing, when I think about that often, where I came from and where God has me now, it's all about Him and His plan for my life. Because if anybody had ever told me I'd do that cotton patch and be where I am today, oh my.
That takes us right back to the elevator scene in Trinidad.
Okay.
That's when it all started.
Well, all right. Salute to the elevator turn down. Woo!
That's just perfect.
Let me ask you guys this. I ask you, Dottie, let's Mike first. I won't say the best for last. 5 things that you never thought you would have seen in your lifetime.
My president.
Okay.
Married to a woman like that and raising a family like we have.
Mm-hmm.
Having the educational level that I managed to get, thanks to Dottie scholarships. Did I say the family already?
Mm-hmm. Wow, shit. A one-wheel scooter or your very white grandson. Man, he's a very white young fella coming from where he comes from. It's just like a little perfect light bulb, right?
Yeah.
He's gorgeous.
He's developing a good identity.
He is definitely because of what he comes from.
Yep.
And that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Salute to that shit.
When he was playing lacrosse. That's a white boy sport, in case you didn't know.
I know what it is. I think I know. You look around my back and I think it's okay.
When he was playing lacrosse, I asked him at one point, "Do the other guys on the team know that they're playing with a black guy?" And he takes that so well. He takes that so he just falls right into it. It's just a natural acceptance, and it's good to see. Yeah.
Dottie, what are things? And listen, when I asked you that question, it's a little different from asking Mike.
Of course.
And I don't want to be I'm not trying to be an asshole. I just know. I come from, I've been to church in Lancaster, South Carolina during a church revival.
Mm-hmm.
I know what it's like to hear the foot stomps on the floor, really praying and worshiping.
Mm-hmm. That's what I grew up with, actually.
Truly. And I wanted to tap in and I want to just say, like, what?
Yeah.
In the minutest things, not crazy, it's just things you never thought you would have been able to see.
Yeah, I think I never thought first of all, right in my own family, I never thought my daughter would be a doctor because there were none of us being doctors back in those days. Everybody was dressed in white with little white caps on, little pins on them, and little white stockings and stuff. And you never saw anybody my color in the hospital when I went to the hospital to get my tonsils out. And a couple of times I went, but it was just you had to depend on them to do everything for you.
And I want to make sure we shout out Kev.
Yeah.
Little Kev, too.
Yeah.
Living his best life, doing what he wanted to do, what he wanted to do. You heard me?
Yeah.
I want to make sure we shout him out because guess what? Sometimes it takes a real powerful person to realize who you are and to exercise who you are.
Yes, sir.
You understand that? Sometimes it's not easy to exercise who you are. So you have another son who's married to my wife. His name is Kevin. He's living his best life.
I sure hope and pray so. That's my prayer every day.
That's what he's doing.
Every day.
Amen.
He is safe and secure, and his life is good life, whatever it is. That God will bless him and keep him safe.
His choice
and doing what God created him to do, whatever that is. That's not me who has anything to say about that. I can pray and ask, God to just keep him safe and bless him through his life. And I believe he's doing that. He will do that. And he has a beautiful daughter.
What's her name?
Zola.
Little Zola.
Zola Louise. I don't know. Her name is this long. Has 5 names.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Go for it.
If nobody can
be bodacious as you can be. So at this point,
and
everything that we have going on.
She's beautiful, and and I just never thought I would see a time when I was only black person sitting in a church full of white people and felt like I knew that I was getting what I needed for my spiritual walk, my spiritual growth, and I felt comfortable with that. And my son, Kevin, introduced me to these people in Reno
Beautiful.
about 12 years ago.
God
So,
works.
and I,
God works.
yeah, so when I moved here, I already had a built-in
Amen.
church family, and they know me. And, now, I just feel like I got sisters and brothers all around me here. In the Oceanside, I had sisters and brothers all around me there. And whenever, something is going on, I call a plethora of people, and prayer goes up to heaven from everywhere. And things happen when we pray. And my husband was sick, pretty sick for 2 weeks now. And you see him today, he's healing. He's on the mending side. He's nothing like he was when he went in that hospital.
Listen, he's still a little annoying old man. Let me tell you that right
That's
now.
okay. I know.
Yeah, he talks shit a lot too. So you don't have to watch shit he talks. This one over here.
But he is
Starting shit off.
He's
He's a shit talker, this
Don't
guy.
start with me now.
I'm not. Okay.
You don't want to do this in front of the camera.
I'm not. But I'm just simply saying, trying to defend like he a little harmless old man, but he's not. Okay. He got a whole lot to say a lot of times, this guy. He sends out emails, he makes sure that you hear what Mike C got to say.
For one thing that, I never thought I would be married to a white man in the first place. I didn't go away trying to find a white man. And I'm shocked that I did. But another thing is I never would have dreamed we would have been married for almost 58 years.
Praise God for 58 years. And so for me, I love my wife very much. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And this shit ain't perfect.
No, it isn't. And don't let anybody tell you it is. It's 58 years, but nobody said it was 58 years of perfection and that we never had any issues. And so that's not even humanly possible, I don't think.
So I think I got to this place where I realized how wonderful my wife was. We had some battles. And I realized how wonderful my wife was. And I said, you know what? You need to realize where you're weak and she's strong, and where she's weak, you're strong.
That works.
And I think that that's the most amazing balance of having marriage. It's not about what I can provide for you, if I can pay your bills, because that's the shit that goes on now, right? These people today, they really value what can you do for me? Can you do? Instead of saying, yo, I'm gonna hold you down. I love you. I care about you. And let's work for each other. And what I see here has been an amazing journey between you two. And in my selfishness, I wanted to capture it. And I'm very glad that I got an opportunity to capture it so people can hear your story. And Dottie, you still have to give me your 5 things. And
Well, I never thought I would marry a white man and then have to put him through school for all of his degrees.
There were only 3. Now that you make it sound like a lifetime of school.
But let me tell you why. This is why I just thank God he was able to let us do this. I knew back in those days, it was almost impossible for me to get into a higher degree. I got my BS right, straight through. I went straight through like my daughter, tunnel vision, just focused. And I didn't let anything stop me from going through to get my degree. I had to do that. My family was behind me. My sisters were much older, and they would do whatever they could to help me. One summer I went to Morehead City and worked on the beach with my sister who doing a hotel thing for Syrians. And they loved her and they gave me a job for that summer so I could get money to go back to school. The next summer, I went with a sister from the church who went to New York every summer and worked for people to make money. And she said, Dottie, you can come with me. And what we do is go there and we get off the bus, and then somebody be there to ask for maids to take care of their homes during the summer when the kids are out of school. They need help. So they'll get a job. Me and my stupid self, well, I wasn't stupid, I was desperate. So so I got on that.
Same thing sometimes, stupid and desperate, let's go.
So I got on the bus with Sister Taylor and we went to New York. And she had been there several times before. So when she got off the bus, her family was right there, waiting for her to take her to work with them that summer. And I sat there and I sat there and I sat there. And it was like midnight and everybody in the bus station had gone just about. And then the family finally came over and asked me if I was sitting there wanting to work. And I said, of course. So they hired me that summer and I worked for them. They had 3 kids and I was their maid for that summer. The next summer, I went to Massachusetts, Taunton, Massachusetts, with my oldest sister who was living there. She said, you can get a job at the laundry where I work. It's a huge laundry, and they have all kinds of jobs that you could get a job there. So I went with her, and I worked there that summer to get money to go back to school. So I worked, and they helped me get those jobs, and I worked my way through school. So I had my degree when I met my husband, and he had not, and I thought, this is not going to go well because I'm not going to be able to make what he can make if he gets his certification, if he gets his credential. And so it's like, okay, I'm going back to school. And so he went back to school and he finished the first one. He had been to like 5, 6 schools. He just couldn't remember, just couldn't stay put.
Mike just couldn't get it. Goddamn, Mike. Mike just couldn't find his way. Okay, Michael just was just doing whatever the fuck Michael wanted to do. He was trying to get together. I don't know, but thank God for Dottie for holding his ass down. I don't know if it wasn't for a praying grandmother and a strong black woman, Mike. I don't know.
I was an explorer.
He started exploring.
That's the worst goddamn ass ever. She was in the field, Michael. She was in the field fighting for Michael. How does that feel, Mike, for real?
Well, she was out of the field by the time she left.
No, that ain't what that's a funny ass joke. You slick. Boy, when I get off here and we drink one of these beers together, it's awesome. Listen. But no, truly, like,
I knew
that's what love is, huh?
I knew we had to survive. I knew we had to live. I knew we wanted to move ahead in our lives. And so with him going to school and getting a certification,
Amen.
He would be able to get a job that would pay him more because they wouldn't pay me the same amount as they would pay him. And so we worked through it and he went and he did well. And yeah, he got his master's.
That's why we are as wealthy as we are.
And that's why I want y'all to sponsor me for my trip to Pittsburgh in a few weeks.
Pittsburgh? Wait a minute. We're going to Pittsburgh and back. I ain't playing. What are we doing?
We're going to Pittsburgh to senior games, and we're going to play basketball again this year, God willing.
And we're going to whoop some ass.
I'm going to come back.
She don't curse, but I curse. And guess what? We're going to whoop some ass in Pittsburgh. Tell them what we doing, Don.
I'm doing basketball. Playing basketball 5
How long you been doing this?
Oh, dear.
Senior Olympics. Tell them.
I don't know. How long have I been doing first strike?
You so old, she don't even know, Sarah. I don't know. My grandma, before she passed, I said, Grandma, they said you got Alzheimer's. She said, shit. I don't know, but I'm still here. I said, all right, well, goddamn, Grandma. Salute to Lawrence.
I just would have to bring my medals out and hang them around the floor here. And then y'all.
And you listen, no. You don't see the medals over there? You don't see the medals?
Yeah, I did.
Everything my baby and I do, many of my kids, they go up on that wall over there. That's a natural wall of fire. Looking on games over here.
So I'm going to Pittsburgh and play basketball in July.
Listen, final thoughts.
Not really.
And you are going.
Yeah.
Final thoughts. One word of advice from each of you to the future. One word of advice from each of you to the future. Dottie, Mike, where'd you go?
Have faith.
Explain.
Have faith in yourself and have faith in people. When we badmouth the generation, I worry about that. I don't know where that's headed. So I think instead of doing that, we need to have faith in ourselves as individuals and have faith in the people around us, regardless of what age they are, what race they are, what language they speak, what church they go to. Gotta have faith.
I would concur with that, but I would start with have faith in God, in yourself, and then those around you, and love one another as you want to treat one another as you want to be treated, and do good at whatever you try to do it to the best of your ability, and just know that what you do for others, then you can feel comfortable that should you get in need, somebody will take care of you as well. Just trust God and trust your fellow man, because every one of us will need somebody someday, and you don't know who it will be. I can say throughout my life, I may be black, but I have taken care of and nurtured and been there for more of my sisters and brothers who are of a different race than me. And I'm so grateful to have had those experiences, because in the end, we loved and we were loved and we have been loved by people who are different from me. And I have loved and I love them. And thank God, all these 85 years, I can't think of anyone that I wouldn't take care of. I love them just the way they are.
Salute. Hey, I just want to sign off by saying I'm very thankful to these two for doing this for me. And
We thank you. It's an honor to be here, having been invited.
I don't think you can ever imagine what the real honor is. The honor is to have been able to capture this for me. And
That's such an honor, because very few people care about who we are, what we are,
yeah.
or what we've ever done. Most people could care less. But somebody might be able to hear or see this podcast and understand that to give love, have love, to be loved is the greatest gift of all. It means that you have to give and take. It's not that you receive, it's that you give. Give and receive. Love and be loved. Have faith in one another.
You know, I'll end this with this. I often see these different TikToks, Facebooks. People who have to define love in their relationships. There's people, my age, a little younger. See, the man's supposed to go out and get the money, and the woman's supposed to do that. And that's not love. And this is why we don't have very long marriages anymore. Love is signing on to be with someone that you care about and learning the intricacies through and through. Signing up for this old yawning man who's yawning his ass off over here. This old yawning ass man.
I'm hiding it.
And saying, you know what? I love you. You think your thing, no matter what. I'm gonna be here for you. But guess what? What I realized about those people who look for this and that, how much money does he make, this, that, and the third, and compatible. To see you guys hold hands through this entire thing really let me know the comfort of love later in life. It's fucking, and Chris, it's fucking huge. And I was glad to do this today. I love you guys. And we're signing off. Love you. For the Dank Dads. Salute.